Hey y'all, I'm Tracy and welcome to Just Dig It Farms. For any of you who are new to our channel, my husband Gene and I bought our farm here almost 7 years ago. November this year will be 7 years ago. It is a little over 18 acres in central Alabama. When we bought this property, it was a complete blank slate. It was 9 acres of pasture and 9 acres of old hardwood forest. And it has a beautiful creek on the property with a couple of natural springs also. So our whole property, all 3 sides of our property, is surrounded by natural resources. We fell in love with this place when we first found it. When we found this property, it was an absolute impossible dream for us to be able to get this property, but God made the impossible possible. We have a video where Gene and I share our testimony about how God made this dream and this property possible for us. I'll put a link to that above if you want to go watch it. Our goal in creating this farm and homestead is to create a self-sufficient, self-sustaining farm and homestead for us and our family. As of right now on Just Dig It Farms, we have honeybees, we have laying hens, we have Nigerian dwarf goats, we have a Great Pyrenees named Clyde, and we have a lab named Champ, and we have a cat named Charlie. We have a potager garden, which is a French-inspired style kitchen garden, and it is where beauty and function meet. I am a landscape designer, and beauty is just as important to me as function. So the potager garden just works beautifully for us. One of the very first things that we did here on our farm was to create an orchard. We are moving that orchard to the potager garden and incorporating it all together. So we're in the process of that right now, because where the orchard is now, we want it to be part of the rotational grazing pastures for our goats and our future animals that we plan to get. Gene's parents moved to our farm last year, and we have converted a shed into a cottage cabin for them. Our older son Chase lives here on the farm with us. Our younger son Chance is in the Air Force, and he is married to my beautiful daughter-in-law Renee, and they are having us our first grandbaby, which is a boy, and his name is going to be Cooper. He is due in June, and we are so excited we can't hardly stand it. Today is Thursday, April the 6th. Tomorrow is Good Friday, and Sunday is Easter. So I want to go ahead and wish you all a very happy and blessed Easter. Even though our last frost date for Central Alabama is March 17th, I always like to wait and plant my summer vegetables, summer flowers, anything that's not cold hardy. I always like to wait and plant those things on Good Friday or after Good Friday, because we always have a late freeze here in Alabama. We always have one, and I've made the mistake many times of planting things early or planting things right at my last frost date and then losing them all and having to plant and start all over again. So I always like to try to wait until Easter weekend to do my major planting. And it seems like it's always Easter weekend when it's super cold. But I feel like the frost is past, any danger of frost is past, and I can go ahead and start planting. I hope I'm right. So my project for today is to start planting a lot of my herbs. I have been growing a lot of herbs here in my greenhouse. I've been growing culinary herbs as well as a lot of medicinal herbs. We partnered with Hoss Tools and created a medicinal herb seed collection. Actually 2 of them, a premium collection and a deluxe collection. And I have been growing all of the herbs from both of those collections because I wanted us to be on a journey together of growing our own medicine. So my big goal for these collections was to start the seed with you guys together, to grow the seed into beautiful, healthy little plants, and to plant those into the garden, to watch them grow, to learn about them, to harvest them, and to actually create medicine and products out of the herbs. That is my big goal for this year, is to be on this journey with you guys of growing our own medicine. So we've started the seeds together, we've grown the herbs together in the greenhouse, and today we're gonna start planting these herbs in the potager garden. Before we start planting these herbs, let's take a look together at what all we've got growing in here. I've got a lot of different things growing here in the greenhouse, all of which are not herbs. Some are squash, tomatoes. Look at these tomato plants. Oh my gosh, they've gotten so big. And these squash, I actually might have started these just a little bit too early. I've got roses in here. I've got all kinds of different plants and things that I'm growing in here. But today I wanted to just cover with you guys all of the different herbs that we're going to be growing together this year. These are nasturtiums that I'm growing. I've got all different kinds that I'm growing. And even though they're not in the medicinal collections, they are medicinal. They have medicinal properties. And you can eat the beautiful flowers. They have like a little peppery kind of flavor. All of these are borage. This is catnip. I've already been planting some. These are different culinary basils, Thai, cinnamon. This is lemon balm. This is chamomile. These little tiny ones here are horehound. I need to pot these up and fertilize them, give them a chance to get a little bigger. And all of these are holy basil. And I've got to divide all these out and pot them up too. I haven't done that yet. This is cilantro. Over here, these four right here were supposed to be passion flowers, but for some reason, somehow, the seed got mixed up, and they're all echinaceas, except I do have one little passion flower in here growing. So I ended up with just one passion flower. This is peppermints, right here, there, and here. Let's see if I can get it. Peppermint, and I've already planted a couple of those in some pots. Back here is Roselle, Roselle hibiscus, more chamomile. I love chamomile. This is bee balm. Got a tray of these, and this is some sweet basil. This is more lemon balm, and this is feverfew. Down here, I've got yarrow, a lot of yarrow. Over here, this is germander. It's an herb, and I'm using this to make like little hedges in the potager garden. I actually propagated these. I took cuttings off of the ones I have and started these last year. Over here, I've got rosemary and lavenders. Over here, I have hops. Look at all these hops. I still don't have anything for these to grow on. I'm gonna have to go get some cattle panel trellises for these to grow on. I definitely want to be able to grow these hops this year. Look how good they look. Back here is echinacea. I've got so much echinacea. I kind of went crazy with that. And the hyssop. Look at all these hyssops. And this is sage, the broadleaf sage, garden sage. All of these back here is calendula. I kind of went nuts with the calendula. These are motherworts. I ended up with 4 motherwort. These were kind of hard to get started. These are thymes that I picked up from petals, and this is a tarragon that I picked up from petals. All of this other that I'm showing you, we've grown together from seed. This is, what is this? Marshmallow? Marshmallow, right here. It's not in the collection, but it's a great herb. This is the butterfly pea that makes the blue flowers, and you can make the blue tea out of it. It's very medicinal. It's not in the collection, but it's a great one to have. These are fennels that I've got, different fennels and dill. And over here, this is mullins. I need to pot these up. And this is spilanthes. These are so tiny. They're taking forever to grow. but they're coming. I just need to separate them out and pot them up. So I'm gonna try to get some of these planted today. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna be able to get them all done, but I am gonna try to get a pretty good start on it. So this may end up being a 2-part video, but I wanted to bring you guys along with me because we're on this journey together to grow our own medicine. I'm gonna start with the Roselle and let's see, the calendula. I'm gonna try to go ahead and start getting these calendulas in the ground. And we're gonna pray that there's no frost. But if there is, I'm gonna have to go around the whole garden and cover these things up. Roselle is a tropical herb and it needs to be in full sun, and it's gonna get very big. It's gonna probably get 6, 7 feet tall, 6, 7 feet wide. It's gonna get really big. So I know exactly where I'm gonna put it. It'll get full sun here and it'll have plenty of space to grow. We're in the Potager garden here, and this is the southwest end of the Potager garden. So I have a border going around the end, and this border is my medicinal herb border. So before we start planting, I wanted to show you what's in the medicinal herb border so far. We've got yarrow here. I believe this one is cerise queen. And this is a ginkgo biloba that I just planted, and you can see that frost got it a little bit, but it's coming out. This is going to be a massive tree. This is marshmallow that did come back where I planted it a couple of years ago, there and there. This is funny right here. This is mullein, and it's on the outside of the bed. I had it planted right there, and it reseeded and started growing on the outside of the bed. I will be leaving this. I have 5 roses that I've chosen for this medicinal herb border, and I chose them because they make really big rose hips, and they're really high in vitamin C. Also, the one on the very end down there, I chose it because it's really fragrant, really good for making products with. So this is Katy Road Pink. That's lemongrass. I don't think it's going to come back out of it. I'm probably going to have to cut that down and replant it. This one is Old Blush. This rose dates back to the 1800s, and it makes not big rose hips, but it makes a lot of rose hips. This is Horehound that I had planted a couple of years ago, and it's beautiful. It has that beautiful silver foliage. This is Comfrey. This is an excellent herb everybody should have in their garden for so many different reasons. It is a dynamic accumulator for your garden. You can make a fertilizer with this. It's also referred to as the knit bone herb because they said if you make poultices out of it, it can heal broken bones. It's really good to make salves and such out of it for skin issues. Comfrey is just excellent, and the pollinators love these little blooms. These are echinaceas that I've previously planted here. More comfrey and more comfrey. This rose is called Basie's Blueberry. It makes really nice rose hips. That's some catnip that come back up. Kind of spread it in different spots and popped up. This is just a wildflower here. It's Texas Bluebonnet. I don't really know if it has any medicinal properties, probably not, but it's a wildflower and it popped up. This rose is called Hansa, and it makes really nice rose hips. It is a rugosa rose. Beautiful foliage. And I've got yarrow in here. This is autumn damask rose, and this rose is super fragrant and is used a lot in beauty products because of the fragrance. I got a lot of different wildflowers popping up in here. That's cornflowers. Johnny jump ups. Got different poppies gonna pop up. Over here I've got more yarrow. This is Rebecca. This is a rose that my friend Holly gave me, Caldwell Pink. And over here is some bee balm that's coming up. This was my eucalyptus tree. The frost killed it, so I've got to come cut this down. But there's a new growth coming up, so it's still alive. But all of this is dead, so it's got to go. So that's designated as my medicinal herb border. And then as you come around to these front borders, they also have a lot of different herbs in them. I've got lavenders, I've got echinaceas, catmints, roses, all different kind of herbs, roses, and perennials are in here too. So my herbs is kind of continued from that border all the way around to these front borders of the potager garden. Even though I have designated borders and areas for my herbs, I also have them just dotted in all in the potager beds. I have, like on that end bed, I've got sages and rosemaries, and on my little half circles here, I'm going to be adding a lot of different herbs. I just include them all in the potager beds as well, all amongst my vegetables and fruits and different food that I'm growing, because herbs are such great companion plants. They bring in a lot of beneficial insects. They're pest confusers. Herbs just make wonderful companion plants amongst a lot of your different fruits and vegetables. Plus, I just love herbs. I can't have too many herbs in my life and in my garden. So I like to incorporate them all throughout my potager beds, my herb borders, my cottage garden. I've got them incorporated around my chicken coop and my garden shed. They're everywhere. You just can't have too many herbs in your garden. Okay, I'm gonna plant these roselles back in the back end of these borders. Like if there's one there, I'm gonna put it there, and it'll have this whole space to grow, plus they get really big. So I'm gonna put one there, and I'm gonna put one there, and over there in that back corner. Okay, we got the Roselle planted. Let's do calendula next. Okay, I'm gonna start with this one first because it's the biggest, it's got the biggest plants. And this one is the Prince mix from the Hoss Seed Collections. So I'm gonna get this one in the ground now. It is hot and humid out here today, y'all. I got a feeling we're going to have a very hot, intense summer. Okay, I'm gonna plant some of these calendulas in the potager beds. What I'm gonna do is actually plant them in these semicircles here on this bed and over on that bed. I think what I'm gonna do is put the calendula on this row and this row, and do the same thing on that side. Then I'll put something different on those back rows. Calendula is a wonderful herb that has a lot of great medicinal properties for skin issues. And I like to make, I know y'all have heard me say this a million times, but I like to make this salve out of it. I call it a gardener salve. And it's really good stuff for dry, cracked, irritated skin. So I'm looking forward to harvesting these little flowers and making that salve. And we're gonna do that together. Calendula is an annual for me here in Central Alabama. And when it starts getting really hot, it will start playing out. It'll be done, it'll be finished. We can grow it here in spring and in fall. It likes the cooler months here. And what you'll need to do when this calendula starts blooming is harvest it every day. Come out every single day, first thing in the morning, when all of those essential oils are concentrated in the plant. Come out early in the morning and harvest all the flowers that have opened up. And then the next day do the same thing. The more you harvest the flowers, the more flowers it will produce on the plant, plus the more flowers that you'll get to make medicine out of. So for me, here in central Alabama, where it gets really hot really quick, we barely have a spring usually, and it gets super hot. So I need to get these plants in the ground as soon as possible. So as soon as the last frost, you're sure it's over with, get your calendula in the ground so that you can get a good harvest of it this spring. And then this fall, plant another round of it, and you'll have plenty of calendula to make some awesome salve and medicine out of it for your skin. I've got about 4 different varieties of calendula that I'm growing this year, and we've got one planted already. It was the Hoss, the one from Hoss, the Prince Mix, and that one was in the Medicinal Herb Seed collection. This one is Strawberry Blonde, and it is so pretty. This one is beautiful. Now I gotta decide where I'm gonna plant these. I think I'm gonna do it over on the end of these potager beds that's closest to the medicinal herb border. So let's see. Yep, I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna have my tomatoes planted in this bed this year. Right now I've got garlic growing on each side of this trellis, and I've got this one little bed down here on the end just for herbs, flowers, whatever, something to companion plant with my tomatoes. So I'm gonna put my Strawberry Blonde calendula in this bed. Now what I like to do is I put my label in when I plant, and Gertrude Jekyll, which is one of my garden heroes, she said that having a plant tag in your garden was a disgrace and a shame. So, and I do agree with her, because it's not as pretty when you've got all these tags all over your beds. But I put my tag in here until I can come back around with my journal, and I put everything down in my journal, and then I remove the tags. Because I do agree with Gertrude, all of these little plant tags all over your garden is not very beautiful. I went ahead and got all of the calendula planted. In these 2 beds, I've got the calendula from the Hoss Tools Medicinal Herb Seed collection here, and this is Pacific Mix. I've got it in this first and second circle, semicircle, and then over here, I've got the same thing in the first one, and then in the second one, I've got 4 of them in the middle because I ran out, and then on the ends here and here, I've got the Strawberry Blonde. I decided to put the rest of the calendula on the end of these 3 potager beds here. So right here is a little bit, this is the Snow Princess from Baker Creek, and then all the way down this row is the Snow Princess as well. And I've still got room where I can plant something else to the side of it. And then on the end of this bed, these are all the Strawberry Blonde right here. And I ran out of those. So where this rock starts, that is the Pacific Mix. And the rest of the Pacific Mix is on the end of this bed. That's all of the calendula that I've grown, and it's really too late to do another succession. By the time they start blooming, it'll be too hot here. But I did, as I sowed the seed, I did sow them in succession. So the bigger ones, the Hoss ones that I planted first, they were the first ones that I planted. And then a week later, I planted the next ones, and a week later, I planted the next ones. I probably won't be harvesting all of the calendula blooms at the same time, but they'll be pretty close. and I should be able to get a really good harvest off of all of these before it gets too hot out here. Okay, let's see what we're going to plant next. I think we'll plant some chamomile next. I'm gonna go with, I've got 2 different varieties here, and I'm gonna go with my chamomile from Hoss first. This one right here. Chamomile really is a perennial for me, but every year mine dies out. When it starts getting really hot, it just burns up and dies out. So I'm gonna try something a little different this year, and I'm gonna plant it over here under this maple tree in the medicinal herb border, and it'll get some shade. It'll get some dappled sun, but it'll get some shade, and I'm hoping that it's gonna do better. I'm hoping by planting it around this tree, the bottom of this tree, it's gonna get enough afternoon shade that it will do better and maybe not burn up this year. Chamomile is a beautiful little herb. I love its feathery foliage that it has, airy, feathery foliage, and the little bloom on it is just sweet. It's a little white, daisy-like flower with yellow centers, and it smells so good in the garden. You can just be out here working and you get this whiff of like a sweet apple-like scent. It smells so good. Chamomile doesn't get very tall. It stays pretty low to the ground and kind of spreads a little bit, so it makes an excellent ground cover or a really great herb to put like at the front of your garden, to the front borders of your garden. And it's just a really beautiful herb in the garden. Now for us, like I said, it should be a perennial, and it always dies out on me when it gets too hot. I'm really hoping by planting it under this maple tree where it's kind of shady. It does get enough sun here though for it to bloom well, but I believe it's going to be protected from our super hot afternoon shade right here. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I would love for this little beautiful herb to come back every year instead of dying out on me when it gets hot. Not only is it beautiful in the garden, but it is a wonderful medicinal herb. The little flowers, we love to pick the little flowers and make chamomile tea. It's just a sedative, it's a calming herb. It's a great one to drink before you go to bed at night. So we like to take the little blossoms of this, some anise hyssop, some catnip, a little bit of mint, maybe some lemon balm, and make a wonderful nighttime sleepy tea with this. Really good for calming anxiety, anxious mind. So let's get this chamomile in the garden. Look at these roots. That is a good, healthy plant. There we go. We got the chamomile all planted here. It's just all kind of tucked in and around this maple tree here. So it really should make a beautiful ground cover here. Now I'm going to plant my next round of chamomile right here. I'm going to come along this side here, kind of go around and around here. And this chamomile here is from Baker Creek, and it's called Slotty Lawn. Lawn, or I don't really know how to say it, but it makes bigger blooms. So this should really be pretty. I planted my chamomile, the Slotty Lawn. I planted it here all the way around, and I put it in front of all of the roses here in the herb border. Got some there and a few in front of this rose. And then I've already showed you all of this is the chamomile from the Haas collection. And this is the Zloty lawn in front of this rose and in front of this rose. I feel like the roses will provide a little bit of shelter for the chamomile. I hope anyway, we'll see. And then this bed here, I'm thinking maybe this tree will provide a little bit of shade for it. We'll see how they do. Now I'm going to plant a few of the anise hyssop. The anise will get about 2 feet, 2.5 feet tall and wide, and I'm going to plant it in little pockets of 3, little triangle pockets of 3, like over here, and I'm going to do more pockets like that down throughout the border. So what I'm talking about is I'm going to put one here, I'm going to put one about here, and I'm going to put one here. And you can see that makes a nice little triangle. And just a little design tip. This is for interior design and for garden design. Whenever you do things in odd numbers, it's more pleasing to the eye. So 3s, 5s, 7s, 9s, it's always more pleasing to the eye. And in garden design, when you've got little 4-inch plants like this, you got to think about it. This plant's going to get about 2 feet tall and 1.5 feet or so wide, 2 feet wide. So that's the size of plant it's going to be in this garden. But if you put 3 of them together and space them out about 1 foot or so apart, then it's going to make a big mound of that one plant instead of just one single plant. So this hyssop in this area here, it's going to be a big, nice mound, and it's going to make more of a statement than just one single little plant popped in here. And what I always like to do when I'm doing borders like this is to repeat this same pattern down throughout the border, and that's repetition. And repetition just makes everything more unified in the garden. Just like this chamomile here that I planted, I did the little pockets in front of each rose all the way down my border. And now I'm coming back and I'm putting the 3 anise right here where it'll make a big impact here. And I'll probably do the same thing on the other side over there. And then I'll take this whole pattern and repeat it as I go down the border. So that is a very important design principle, is repetition, interior and in the garden. You want to repeat some of the same colors, some of the same patterns, some of the same plants, and you want it to repeat that all throughout your space, different areas of your space. And the anise and the chamomile is going to make a real pretty combination together, because this anise is going to get taller and it's going to have like this spiky purple bloom, whereas the chamomile has more of that ferny type foliage, and it's going to have a little tight white and yellow daisy type bloom. So it's going to be really pretty together here in the garden, but it's also a wonderful tea companion. I love to make the tea with the anise, hyssop, and the chamomile. Okay, now we're going to repeat this little pattern on the other side of the chamomile. And another good garden design tip for you is to do things in layers by height. So like in my herb border here, that is the back of my bed. So this is really the front of my bed. This is my path, so I'll be walking along the front of my bed. So in really good garden design, you would have your smaller ground cover type plants to the front, and then maybe a plant that's like 2 feet or so tall, then maybe a plant that's like 3 feet tall, and then in the very back would be your taller plants. When you plant like that, that makes your garden look really full, and you can see every plant. You can see the beauty of every plant. One's not hidden by the other, and it just makes it look like it naturalized like that. Now, if you had a bed that you saw all sides of it as you walked through the garden, maybe like a circle bed or something, and you walked around and saw the whole bed, then the best thing to do is to plant your taller thing in the middle and work your way out and down. And that way, same principle applies. You'll be able to see every plant. It'll look nice and full and layered. Well, y'all, we got some of the herbs planted today. We got the Roselle hibiscus, the chamomile, the anise hyssop, and the calendula. We got all of those planted today. We've still got a lot more to go, but we've got a good start. This is definitely going to be more than just a one-part video. It's probably going to be more like a 4 or 5-part video of us designing and planting our medicinal herb garden together. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in the potager garden together. God bless you, and I'll see y'all on the next video.